Qualitative analysis lab number 2, and this is unknown letter E. And we have a solution. Looks clear, okay, but there are some ions in there. And what ions are in there? Well, it could be magnesium, calcium, strontium, barium. Actually, it could be one of these ions or two of these ions or three of these ions or all four of these ions. And what you're going to do for your response on either page 5 or 6 is put unknown letter or unknown number E, which is actually a letter. And then for magnesium, you're going to write yes or no. For calcium, you're going to write yes or no. For strontium, you're going to write yes or no. And for barium, you're going to write yes or no. You are going to use supporting evidence to support your claims and watch a general information video of unknowns to get the details for that. What's the process we're going to do? We're going to add OH minus following the flow chart on page 4 and look for precipitate formation here. Then the next step, we're going to add CrO4 minus 2 to look for the next precipitate. Then the next thing we're going to add is SO4 minus 2 to look for the next possible precipitate. And the last thing we're going to add is CO3 minus 2. So we are going to go right in and follow the flow chart on page 4 to figure out whether these ions are present or not, or which ions are present and which are not. So the next thing I'm going to do is stop my share. I'm going to go right to this. And the first thing I'm going to add to my unknown is OH minus. And I'm going to put in 10 drops. I don't see anything happening. I'm going to give it that inversion mix though, because sometimes you see some cloudiness and then you get that gel-like fish egg type thing. And I look and I don't see anything there. So I'm going to go right to my next step. And that is adding CrO4 minus 2. Okay, it's turned yellow, but it's a yellow solution. So I can see right through it. Again, no sign of any precipitate formation here. So I'm going to go through to the next step and add SO4 minus 2. This is the one where I add 3 extra drops. So this is kind of that slow forming precipitate formation. But again, I'm looking at it, it's like, oh, it doesn't turn cloudy right as he has the drops, but it's definitely gotten hazy after. And that is a typical positive response for the precipitate in that third step. So not looking at so much the initial drops, but does it haze up after 20, 30 seconds? And it looks quite hazy at this point. I'm going to try to centrifuge that, and so we get a clean look at the next test right there. So I'm going to put that in. That'll give it a little bit more time to respond. And again, that haziness might frost the glass or even sink to the bottom a little bit, and then makes the next test a little easier to see. Giving that a good spin. And I think that should be good. Slow it down. We'll see what we have our centrifuge. And yeah, it's still a little frosty on the sides of the glass, and you can see kind of a pretty significant chunk on the bottom. Okay, not as strong as reaction as some others, but definitely that's all you need to see precipitate formation here. And then the last step, we're going to skim off the liquid. Again, looking pretty clear. You can see the frosty glass, the stuff on the bottom. And I'm going to add CO3 to this next step. This is the one where I look for precipitation right away. And not only oily, but getting cloudy. and we see that cloudiness forming right there. We're not going to precipitate centrifuge it, but we see that cloudiness as I add the drops, pretty much with the first or second drop starting to get cloudy right away, which is a typical positive response for this precipitate here in this last step. So there is unknown D, and I'm sorry, unknown E. So that is unknown E. And again, look at the general information about that precipitate if you have any questions, or let me know if you have questions. Thank you for watching Unknown E.